President Operations, Communities and Customer Experience at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. He has a Lean Six Sigma. He is a strong votary of digital transformation and is a well-known speaker and columnist. Thank you for joining us today, Dipu. I hope you are doing well, and welcome to this show by dynamiccio.
Thank you very much, Muqbil. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to an interesting and engaging conversation with you.
So, Dipu, the question that I want to come to you is, as we all notice that these are really trying times, and so as and when the situation limps back to normal, what are your top 3 priorities as a tech leader?
The first one is fairly obvious. It's about how do we pivot our operations, to the new normal. We worked extremely well, during the lockdown phase. In fact, we were able to, switch seamlessly to all our digital channels. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say. And in fact, our customer grievances went down by 90%. So that's the way we've been able to, service our customers, partners, and our, colleagues. Tremendous appreciation from everyone. So it's about, how do we, continue this, even as we, get back to offices. So there are various parts to it. One is, for example, we would like to continue our digital servicing, going forward as well. And therefore, how do we create a virtual factory? There are, a lot of roles, which are not customer facing, right, which can continue to work from home permanently. At the same time, there will be some roles, which require people to be in office. For example, our branches, right? There are customer facing, branch managers, who are sitting in the offices, right? So they will have to come. So how do we, ensure that there is a proper mix of customer servicing, because we are an essential service, as well as employee safety. So managing social distancing, keeping hygiene norms in place, sanitizers, masks, so on and so forth. So the whole idea of having, a good combination of work from home and, work from office, that's going to be the first priority. Second, Muqbil, is cyber security. I think it's a big focus area, nowadays, as we go ahead, because when people work at home, it's a very different environment, because many of them are using Wi-Fi, right? So how do we ensure that, they are safe, right? Because they're using company assets for official transactions while working from home. So, cyber security, is a key, focus area for us. The third aspect, for us will be around strengthening, remote management infrastructure as well, because I was reading a very interesting report by Gartner recently, and it basically said that while a lot of players had focused heavily on digital transformation and innovation in terms of their IT investments prior to the pandemic, once the pandemic came in, I think they all had to do a reset. The whole idea was to, revise your investments and now, ensure that, you're keeping the lights on, right? Because you have to give, infrastructure which people can access from home. All the software, which the company has developed, people have to, be in a position to access that from home while being secure. So I think ensuring that this entire thing is strengthened, I think, that's going to be a focus area. So these 3 are the, the key focus areas, as we get back into Unlock One.
What are the key challenges that you anticipate in business? And how will technology matter in solving them, or at least easing them out over a period of time?
That's a very good question, Muqbil. In fact, as they say, old habits die hard. So as we get back into Unlock 1.0, one thing we have seen is that there is a demand, for some of the physical aspects of transaction servicing to come back. So the whole idea is, how do we ensure that, digital servicing continues even as we cater to some customer segments, or some partner segments, who want physical servicing. So it's going to be a digital world, in which we live, right? So how do we give the choice to customers, for digital options as well as, non-digital options? So I think, that's one way by which, we can make life easy, for customers. The second, Muqbil, is today, especially because of the COVID-19 fear in people's minds, people are very wary of touch. Nobody wants to even touch a button in the elevator. So how do we focus on touchless UI and UX, right?
Correct.
So for example, can we leverage, voice in a big way, right? For example, our app is already integrated with, Alexa and Google Assistant. We were amongst the first insurance players, in the country, to integrate with Alexa, when they launched in India. Because then you don't need to, rely on touch. You just have to bark your command into the phone and the order gets executed, So that's, a key focus area, for us. The third thing is that today with social distancing, and the way, people are very wary of, meeting others, right? A lot of offices have guidelines around, visitors not coming in, travel is not possible, right? So today, what's happened overnight, it's moved from in-person relationship-driven sales to contactless sales, right? Because how do generate sales, by meeting people remotely. So I think that's where technology can help. A lot of, digital collaboration tools. For example, you and I are using one right now.
Right.
How do we then also give, self-service options to customers as well as partners, so that, after the call, at both ends of the spectrum, the request can get fulfilled. So I think these are three areas, by which, technology can be used to overcome challenges.
So how do you see, how do you foresee these changes that have taken place? Do you think they are of permanent nature, or how will those, how will IT align with all those?
Okay. So again, Muqbil, a very relevant question. One thing that we did, which we did, in fact, it's almost 3 months to the day, right, from the time that, the lockdown started. So what we did was, once we had embarked on this digital servicing journey for our customers as well as our partners, we actually did a survey recently. We spoke to a lot of our customers and to our partners, and we were very happy to hear from 80% of them, that they'd like to continue with digital servicing. So what that means for us, are three things. I think one is, now with everybody using devices, we'll have to have a very clear, BYOD, bring your own device policy, right? Because all of our, employees are going to be using their own devices, working from home. So I think that's, one very clear aspect. The second, Muqbil, what a lot of us tend to forget is that digital servicing by default tends to be in English, right? So how do we ensure that this journey becomes, multilingual? For example, the Farm Mitra app that I spoke to you about, right, which won a global award and which has a rating of 4.6, you'd be very surprised to know, and of course pleasantly surprised to know, that it is not in English. It is in 3 Indian languages. It is in Hindi, it is in Marathi, it is in Kannada. And it helps our farming community carry out a host of transactions, seamlessly. So I think multilingual, is an area of focus, for all of us. The third is the entire customer journey. How do we digitize it end to end? You see, what happens is in a lot of journeys is, that the start could be, digital, maybe the end could be digital, but is it, digital end to end? Because that means, there is no touch anywhere. So I think digitizing customer journeys completely, a very clear BYOD policy, and multilingual. I think, these are the three ways, by which, we'll overcome these challenges.
Very good points. BYOD being a crucial element in all of those. So, Dipu, in the next 1 year,
Right.
1 year, where do you see the maximum traction happening in terms of technology business alignment?
Yeah. So Muqbil, one thing which is happening is, because a lot of players, have realized, the need, right, for digital servicing. I think you must have seen that standard WhatsApp joke, as to who is responsible for, digital ramp up. Is it the CEO? Is it the relevant CXO? Or is it COVID-19, right? And no prizes for guessing, right? So what's happened is, because everybody, is basically, on this path, I think you'll have a lot of, API based, servicing happening across, players and partners. And because of that, I think over the next 1 year, you'll see a lot of partner integration, coming into play. That's clear, something which we have seen. The second thing which we have seen, like I told you, because of touchless user interface and because of, convenience from home, people are not able to travel. I see, digital assets like your bot, your chatbot, WhatsApp, your website, your portal. I see a huge demand and an increase in the usage, of these assets. The third thing, you see, the pandemic was a once in a lifetime event. And what it meant is, that all the hitherto existing BCP plans, couldn't work. So people realized, that it's so important, right? So areas like BCP and cyber security, which could have been, let's say, tick marks earlier, they've come right into center stage. People are taking them very seriously, right? For cyber security, for example, I'll tell you how it helps. You see, when somebody is working from home, the other day somebody just, brought this up in a conversation. How do you know if he's not working for 2 different companies? Because when he's going physically, he's going to one office only, right? He cannot physically go to 2 offices. But you could have fraudsters, who do that. So there, your tools have to be very, very clear, right? In terms of, how are you able to monitor, even if he's not coming to office. So I think some of these areas like cybersecurity and BCP, they'll come center stage. I see usage of assets, like I mentioned to you, and a lot of API integration, across players in the ecosystem. In the next 1 year, I see a lot of traction in these areas where business and IT, will work in strong collaboration.
Right. So it's been a lovely experience talking with you, Dipu. You have covered a lot of areas, for example, cybersecurity, TCP, digital servicing, virtual factories, and management of data assets. I think these are very relevant points, and which will be of great help to our audience, and everybody will have something to take out of this discussion. Thank you so much for joining us today in this India Incorporation series. I look forward to further collaborations with you. Thank you so much.